Welcome to the very first episode of Rev on Record. My name is Alex Hall. I'm an author, speaker, and founder of Parted Sea Ministries. Most importantly, I'm just a guy who's spent a lot of time asking difficult questions about faith, leadership, purpose, and what it means to follow God when life doesn't make sense. If you're listening to this podcast, thank you for giving me a few minutes of your time. Today, I want to tell you why this show exists, what you can expect from it, and honestly, why I felt compelled to start recording these conversations in the first place. So whether you're driving to work, sitting in the gym, mowing the lawn, or really just trying to make it through another difficult day, welcome to Rev on Record. Let's address the obvious question. The world does not need another podcast. There's millions of them. There's pastors with huge churches. There's authors with big, huge platforms. And there's speakers with large audience. There are people way smarter than me, with way more experience, and truthfully are way more successful. So why start another one? Because I think there are conversations that need to happen. Not every conversation needs stage and lights. Not every faith discussion needs a green room. And not every message needs to be packed into a 60-second clip. Sometimes people need a real conversation. Sometimes people need someone willing to sit in the tension. And sometimes people need someone willing to admit they don't have all the answers. And that's what Rev on Record is about. So for those of you who don't know me, here's a little bit of my background. I did not grow up seeing myself going into Christian ministry. Life took me through emergency services and leadership roles, local government, and really just a lot of seasons that I never would have chosen for myself. I've experienced moments where I knew exactly what God was doing, and I've experienced a lot of moments where I couldn't see his hand at all. Moments of confidence and moments of uncertainty. Moments where I thought a door was opening, only to watch it slam shut. And if I'm being completely transparent, those difficult seasons taught me more about God than the easy ones ever did. Most people want God to take them around the Red Sea. What I've learned is that sometimes God intentionally leads us right to it. Not because he wants to destroy us, but because he wants to reveal himself to us. That realization eventually became the foundation for my book, Standing at the Sea, when God leads you to a place that looks like the end. And honestly, it became one of the foundations of my faith. One thing I've noticed over the years is that a lot of Christian content stays on the surface. We hear a lot of slogans and catchphrases, motivational speeches that are really just dressed up as sermons. But many believers are struggling with questions that go much deeper. Questions like, what do I do when God seems silent? How do I trust him in circumstances that don't improve? Why do faithful people suffer? What happens when my plans fall apart? What do I do when I'm disappointed with God? These are real questions, and I think the church needs more spaces where people can ask them honestly. Not every question is rebellion. Sometimes a question is simply evidence that someone is trying to understand. This podcast is going to be a place where we wrestle with those questions. That's not a message people always want to hear, but it's one I've learned repeatedly. And maybe you're in a season where you're waiting right now. Maybe you're praying for direction, praying for healing, praying for restoration. Maybe you're standing at your own Red Sea. And if that's you, I want you to know that just because you can't see God moving, it doesn't mean he isn't. So why the name Rev on Record? A couple people have asked me this as I've been soft launching this to a group of friends, and really it's simple, right? I'm just a guy who's putting a lot of conversations, thoughts, questions, and lessons on the record. Not because I have everything figured out, but because I've learned enough to know that somebody else may need to hear what I've experienced. If something God has taught me can help someone else navigate their own journey, then it's worth recording, it's worth sharing, and it's really worth putting on the record. As we wrap up this first episode, let me leave you with one thought. Your circumstances are not the end of your story. The place you're standing at today is not necessarily where you'll remain. The obstacle in front of you may be the place where God intends to reveal his faithfulness. That's what happened at the Red Sea. And that's how God works today. Thank you for joining me for this first little tiny episode of Rev on Record. If this has encouraged you, be sure to follow the podcast and share it with someone who might need it. Till next time, keep the faith, stay grounded in truth, and remember, sometimes God leads us to the place that looks like the end so he can show us that he's just getting started. I'm Alex Hall. This has been Rev on Record.